Hey, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna put the transom on the back of the boat this episode, so that's pretty exciting. We're done cutting. There's no more ripping and tearing on this boat. We're putting everything back together. We're gonna make her new, so pretty exciting. I'm stoked. Looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hey, let's give a big warm welcome to Mike for appearing on the show tonight. This is his first real debut. He's been a massive help in the background. I just haven't put him on camera until tonight, so I really appreciate it. Thank you. He's going to give us a hand putting the transom up on the back of the boat, so I got to hold that plate up there and then I can trace it out so I can cut it out to the right angles and fit it perfectly to the back side of the boat, so it'll make it a lot easier. So when I cut the transom off the back of the boat, I just kind of cut it all off square, so there's a few pieces that got to get out of the way so we can push the transom plate up tight so we can get it fit to the right angle. We're gonna go on a bigger angle above where the transom stops. It's about 27 inches up from the bottom of the dead rise, so it's all that plate's coming off anyway, so we're just gonna hack it out of the way so that we can fit this thing. Okay, so if you'd watched previous episodes of this, when I cut the back of the transom off the boat, the hull had a bit of a crown to it, so I didn't notice that to begin with, and then I found it, and I was being generous when I laid it out the next time, and I left it a little bit proud rather than having like a big gap. So when we pull the plate in, there's still a little bit of a crown to the back of the hull, so to make it fit properly, I put a tab, I welded it to the plate, and it come along coming in, and then we just pull it in so that we can lay it out properly. But because I didn't want a big gap there, right? And I didn't want to have to shorten everything up a little bit more to make it fit. So anyway, that's what we're doing right now. If you look at the very bottom of the screen, like just over that little bulkhead where I'm sitting, you can see a little orange thing that's come along. So I've got it, the hull, or the transom pulled into the hull, and then Mike just kind of went around and pushed the last little bit in to make it fit, and then we'll trace it out, and then I'll just cut that little, it's like an inch long on the very bottom. It's not straight, so I'll cut the inch off afterwards. I didn't want to cut it too short. That was half the problem with it, so I just made it a little bit proud and lived with the fact that we're gonna have to fight it a little bit on the end, and then it'll work out once we get it all cut up and fit and welded and whole 9 yards. So it worked out anyway. So I'd forgot to put the height of the transom on the inside of the hull. I had marks on the outside for the 27 inches that we wanted the height to be, or 25 I think it was. But I put marks on the outside, so Mike was just transferring over the lines for me and all the rest of it, and then holding them in and kind of telling me where it was sitting. Because you don't really, like, that's a pretty expensive plate too, right? So we wanted to just kind of get it fit so it was sitting in the absolute least amount of wastage, so we can use the plate for something else. That's what's going on right now. So the top of this plate where the actual transom ends, like on the very, very top, it's like one line, so it's got to be nice and straight. I don't want to have it like all wiggly and all that, and have to go along with the grinder and try to make it perfect. We just decided that we'd just clamp that chunk of square tubing to it, and then just figure out the offset on the skill saw, clamp the square tubing to it, and then we just run that as a straight edge, and then it'll cut perfectly straight. You don't have to tune anything up afterwards. So that's what we're doing right now. I have terrible aim. I actually missed the can. So originally we'd bought just a aluminum. It was 5356 was the grade of it, and we were going to use that, and we actually didn't. I don't know. I didn't know. Mike has a good friend of his that builds boats, and he was informed us that the plate that we were using isn't actually like a marine grade. So anything outside the boat that's going to be in the ocean, up against salt water and all the corrosion and all the rest of it, that the grade that you need to use is like a marine grade. I think it's still 5356. It's just a little harder plate. It has a few more alloys in it and all the rest of it. So I honestly couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but anyway, that's this plate here is what we're using. So you got to kind of keep it separate because you can't bend it. It's pretty hard. It'll crack if you bend it. So it's a little note of what's going on. So I left the little clip on there where it had the come along attached to, because it was going to be handy to pull it back into place where it was at. So I ended up, there was just a little bit of a wobble still in the bottom of the boat, so when I got it in there I had to kind of just pull it back a little bit and just take the beads off and cut a little tiny piece off of it to get it to fit properly. So other than that, it actually fit really good. So pushed it in there, pulled and carried on, and away it went. So pretty happy about that. You kind of got to just like get it close to the crane, go have a look, fart around with a bit, go back. The actual real trick to fitting everything is twisting that hook. That's the biggest trick anybody can ever know if you're running a crane by yourself. You just go down there, have a look, see where it goes. You can hold it in place and it'll just twist back. You just got to reach up, get that hook in the right direction, and that thing will sit exactly where you want it every time. So it didn't in that case. I went a little bit too far, but anyways. So I tried to kind of pull it in there and all that and make it sit properly. I thought maybe I could just put it in there and set it down. It didn't work. So like I said before, I had the clip on there for the come along. I should have just used it. So farted around for a bit, but eventually everything got together. So once I get this plate all fit in there, the whole build is just kind of, like I said, we'd had a couple of beers, sat in the boat, figured it out, come up with what we wanted, so we're just kind of making it up as we go along. So once this gets fit in there, I come in and I just tack it the whole 9 yards, and then I come in with an angle finder and I figure out the transom angle, and then we're going to have a big gusset that comes from the bulkhead that you see me build in the last episode. It's going to come from there, and then it's going to come up on an angle to about 9 to 10 inches away from the transom on the top, and it's going to stick above the transom about half an inch. So where I'm standing right now is the bottom of the boat. So it's faint, but you can see the other line that I've already traced out, and that's the transom angle. So I put a mark up like 29 inches. I come out about, or sorry, it's 24 inches, and I come out about 4.5, which is what that little short bulkhead is in the front. And then the angle that I'm fitting right now is 180 degrees off of the transom angle, which would make it level with the top of the boat, which the deck would be. So, if that makes any sense. So, anyways, so that I want it to be, I think I wanted to go 9 or 10 inches back so that everything would fit in properly. And then that angle goes back down to the short little bulkhead in front. So if you can figure out what the heck I'm talking about, send me a like on the video, because it's definitely confusing. You can see it once I put it in place, but it's not easy to explain. Mike always complains about this with me. I'm not very good at explaining stuff. But anyway, here we go. Cut her out. We'll see. So one nice thing is once you've laid out your first plate, you can just use the template. Use that as a template for your next gusset if you got to duplicate it. So if you look right the closest to the camera, the 45-degree little angles that I'm just doing right now. There's one on one side, one on the other. Them are just water reliefs. The plate, the bottom of the boat and the transom doesn't actually go like that. So that's just another one where you want water to be able to flow so that it can get into your bilge pump if you had water in the back. So if you look beside me, there's a couple of lines on there that I've drawn. And I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to go 48 inches or more, because we were looking for a 32-inch center to center for the motors, so that would give me greater than 48 inches for the sump for the motors to turn into. And it was more about the steering ram. The steering ram sticks out past about 3.5 inches past the actual motor. So I was trying to figure out if that really mattered, if I have to make this. I didn't want to make the sump that long, is basically what I was getting at. I want more of a flat space because we're going to be diving off this boat. So I just went, forget it, we're going to go 27-inch centers, 40 inches in sump, and if that steering ram sticks out a little bit, I'm just going to cut a notch in the top of the deck so that ram can go into it. That's basically why them lines are there. We actually don't care, Mike and I, if there's an extra weld or a seam, or like, we're not looking for pristine. If you were buying a boat, it would be like you want it to look nice, right? So you're not gonna have a big seam in the middle of somewhere, or a big weld mark or anything like that. Whereas this one, like it honestly, I want it to look nice. It's more of a, I don't know, aesthetics for my purposes, because I've built it and I want it to look as nice as I can to show that I'm not just a hack, right? But other than that, the boat, I care less. This thing's a tool for us. We're gonna just go out and have fun and dive and kill a bunch of deer and just play, right? So the transom plate, when you cut it all out and all that, it ended up actually, it had a little bit of a bow to it. So I had to put the come along on it just to pull it back straight. I ended up putting a chunk of angle iron, the angle irons that I had on the bottom of the hull to hold them straight. I put a piece of that, just clamped it on there to hold everything straight while I welded it, just to get it all nice and true. But that's what the come along, that's what I was pulling on there for. That's just to make sure that everything was back into place. So the trick to tacking is you want to tack on the side that it's not going to want to break off on. So you got to tack so you can pull it back towards the tack rather than against it. So I'll show you, there's an episode coming up. I've got a bit of video ahead now, so there's an episode coming up that'll show you exactly how that works, where I'm pulling something in with the come along. So we needed a bunch of forming done for the boat. It was the dash and a sump, and there was a reinforcement plate on the transom. And then there's side gunnels, there were some plates too. So there's quite a bit. So anyways, I cut all the plates to size, laid them all out, and then drew a little diagram on the side of them. And then we brought them into Brad at Back Eddie Boats. And honest to God, he did like a beautiful job of all that. That's besides the point. But my God, if you guys are looking for a boat, don't come to me. I'm rebuilding the Geordie G. I'm not going to build you a boat. But this guy is like amazing. I'm giving him a shout out just because I walked through his shop. He has all the equipment that needs to be done. And the boats that he's building are just amazing. So anyway, and I super appreciate what he did for us. We actually just traded some liquid planner for all the forming. So great guy. Anyway, shout out to Brad at Back Eddie Boats. I'll leave a link in the description for if anybody's looking for a boat, or go check it out. Like, honest to God, it's definitely worth it. He does beautiful work. So thanks again, Brad. So anyway, the big plate on the 4x8 that's in front of me before, that's the dash. The one that I pulled out before, that's goes on the side gunnel. And then this is the sump that will go down in front of the motor. So the motor turns into that on that one. And then I go out and I get the deck plate. What we did is formed a little plate. I'll show you what goes on when we put it in. I had a little plate formed so that we're going to bolt the deck in so that we can... Oh, that's not it. Sorry. This is that's the reinforcement for the transom. So I had him bend a little plate for me. It was only a couple of degrees. It's about 6 inches wide, just to fit the deck into, because we're going to bolt it in. So anyway, I'll show you what's going on in the episodes to come with that. So it should work out pretty good. So hopefully all this forming fits and works for us. Like I said, we're making it up as we go along, so there's no blueprint or anything. So anyway, so next episode we'll be putting all this stuff in. Appreciate you watching. Thanks again, and stay tuned for the next episode. It's more fitting and more everything. So thanks for watching. Fucking late, man.